Brandon Bennett and Pat Slack here. Century 21 commercial here in Kearney, Nebraska. The next in our Fast Friday videos. And Pat, one of those very important things as we transition from the sale of a property to the new ownership of a property in that closing process, there's so many things going on, it sometimes gets chaotic. But one of the things we need to pay attention to, maybe even the most important things, are those funds available, funds received, and funds dispersed.
Absolutely, and I just think it's a good topic today, just as a reminder, because oftentimes it gets overlooked. But when you go to a closing and you receive your net proceeds from that sale as a seller, that's a lot of money. And typically there is time in between, maybe a repurchase of another property, excluding a 1031 exchange, but repurchase of another property within days or a week or whatever. But each individual bank has their own funds availability policy, and that can cause problems. So if you don't ask those questions, your funds could be tied up, or we need to talk to branch manager, or we need to figure out something else with the title company to arrange for that next closing, because it can create an issue. I've ran into that recently, and I failed to remind my folks of that, but we found out again the hard way, and it's just something that needs to always be talked about.
So what would be the one piece of advice you could get? Is there a single question that potential buyers or sellers need to be asking to avoid a situation like this?
Once they have their check prior to deposit at their banking institution, they need to understand and know what that funds availability policy is going to be. It's simply that. Now there's solutions for this, Brandon, to get around that if the funds availability policy is not cohesive with what we're trying to do. So there is other ways and measures.
Something that's not often talked about but is very important. It's one of those things, let's face it, money at closing and knowing those funds available is going to be probably the biggest obstacle to overcome in order to ensure a smooth closing. If you have any more questions, give us a call. Pat Slack and Brandon Bennett's here, Century 21 Commercial in Kearney, Nebraska, 308-234-5550. Have a great weekend.